Our next item is an update on the housing development and projected enrollment growth. And I know you'll want to introduce this item, but I think we have a guest here this evening to help us as well.
We do. Come on now. So we have with us this evening Mr. Dick Mitchell from Mitchell Mouat. And trustees, the board last had an update late in 2016. So some of our trustees that have joined us in the past year, this will be your first up close look at this data. What you're going to see this evening is where we're growing in Ann Arbor. And Mr. Mitchell will walk us through their report. Their work is that they visit with planning, the planning folks at the city. They interview every single builder and developer in every area of the town to see what they're doing. They find out all the projects that have been approved. And trustees, just to give away the good stuff right at the beginning, you will see in this report almost 1,300 students added to the district in the coming few years. And that, as Mr. Mitchell will share with you, is just purely a projection, but they do a very distinct algorithm, and they do this based on interviews of every single builder in town and every project that the city has approved. And trustees, I do want to point out that the developments on your slide that have a little asterisk by them are the ones that have been added since you last had this update in late 2016. So in each area, you'll see the ones without an asterisk. For those of you that have been serving a while, you'll think, oh, I do remember that. And then the ones with the asterisk are new. So Mr. Mitchell will walk us through. When Mr. Demetriou and I had this report a week and a half ago, our first question was, please tell me we have not missed any spots, that we have enough classrooms and we're going to be ready. And you will see here that we are taking this step by step, but trustees, we will be bringing, as you already know, some expansion plans to you, because some of this is coming pretty quickly and we need to be prepared. And so with that, I'm so proud to introduce Mr. Dick Mitchell. Mr. Kevin Stansbury could not join us this evening, but sends his regards. We appreciate Mitchell Mouat because they've worked with the district for years. They know our buildings very well. They know things that the rest of us don't know about our buildings. And they are both our parents and have students who have graduated from the Ann Arbor, have children who've graduated from the Ann Arbor Public Schools, and they are invested in our success. And so with that, welcome, Mr. Dick Mitchell.
Thank you, Dr. Swift. So when we were here in November 2016, we looked at about 2,200 housing units that had been through the approval process. Some were still in the approval. And up at the top of the screen, the one labeled A and B were already under construction, and the one labeled J over in the Abbott district was already built. Now the rest of these have gone through the approval process. Some are, about 4 of them are still within the approval process. All are doing well. One project was sent back to the drawing board, and we'll be coming back with some adjustments. But these are all projects that are moving forward, and they represent about another 1,400 housing units. So that accounts for the increase of about 1,250, 1,300 students we're projecting. I want to point out we have not included any of the high rises that you see going up downtown that are predominantly or totally student. We'll talk about that. That will, in 10 years, probably have an impact on the school district, but not yet. So these are all housing developments that are single family, young professional. There are some empty nester, some retirees that we have equated as 0 students coming to the district. Mm-hmm. And we've used formulas developed from the National Association of Home Builders and traditional birth rates, and come up with our numbers, and I think we've been quite conservative with the numbers. As Dr. Swift said, down in the southeast, the developments that are labeled F, G, and H account for about 250 students that are in that Pittsfield, Allen, Carpenter, Mitchell area. The district that has jumped up and is going through the approval process, tracking behind these projects, is over in the southwest, where we're finding about 350 new housing or new students coming to Dickin, Lakewood, and Abbott. So that's something that is coming down the road. You can just go up, you can see that L, M, and K are all new ones, and will have an impact on that area. So that is probably 3 to 4 years down the road, but it's coming. They're large developments that will be generating students, and I can tell you a little bit about our methodology, and I don't want to drag into this, and that's what all these spreadsheets are about. For example, if we talked to developers and asked about who are they marketing for these units, and young professionals is the hot one that they like to say they're marketing. Truth is, whomever gets there first will take the unit. And so how do we deal with these numbers, because many of the units are tagged for young professional. And so we looked at bedroom counts, and we talked more to the developers. And in some cases, like Lower Town, which is approved, and that is upwards of 700 units, the developer believes will have no impact on the schools. We think it's going to have some. But the methodology we use there for the units that were tagged for young professionals, we reduced by 25%. So if there were 100 such units, we cut it down to 25 that might generate students. And then we use the National Home Builders equation of it's 21.9 students per 100 units, or about 5 units per student. So out of that 100, you would only get 5 students. The two equations we're using, if for example, if there were 100 single-family houses, then that's a high indication of being able to apply the 1.9 students per household birth rate. And so we did. But if there were 100 young professional apartments, that is something that would only generate 5 students in the equation I just went through. So there's a big difference in what the units are and who they're marketing.
You remember with the one this past summer, we got surprised.
Yes, we had a lot of surprises. I was going to go to that.
And so I do appreciate the algorithm, and these guys can explain to you exactly how they get their number, and yet we still can be surprised, which is why, trustees, we do go for that 80% occupancy in schools, so that you have a cushion of room and you don't have to get surprised. Now, at elementary, we're above that right now, as you all know, because we're very tight at elementary, so.
And it's interesting to note that a lot of these developers market Hanover schools.
Oh, no question.
In their materials.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
But your takeaway for us, your basic projections are, at least what I'm hearing, so tell me if I'm wrong, 1,300 to 1,500 new students due to housing growth within
Right.
our city
Yes.
boundary, not our district boundary. So there's other township considerations that might be incremental. And that would be in the next
How many years?
2 to 3 years, or are we looking at 5 years?
For all of them, yeah, I would say 4 to 5 years.
4 to
for
5 years.
everything. Yeah.
And this is a little higher number than you came to us with
Yeah.
in 2016.
Yeah, I know.
I think we were just on the edge of 1,000, or kind of rounding up to 1,000.
Yeah.
So I think for us to think about if in not quite 2 years' time, kind of a year and a half of time, we've already seen an incremental 500, up to 500 on that number. If we were trying to pace ourselves looking forward, because trying to build and plan for building, which is part of our work with your help and others, doing that well is a really challenging task. And this past year, I know we saw we anticipated some growth, but we were careful about how we did that. We didn't build bricks and mortars that was permanent. We wanted to see who actually came.
Right.
And happily, all of those are full. But I think for us, doing a good job planning and being the best fiscal stewards of our community's resources, so we need to kind of anticipate this trajectory. Unless something substantial changes in our local economy, I don't expect that trajectory to change its direction.
There's one other thing I should comment on, right in the city core, where our oldest buildings are located, Angel, Burns Park, Baugh, and Mac.
Yep.
The buildings are all about 95 years old. Those are the neighborhoods that will be impacted by the student housing. The thinking is when the city about 10 years ago changed its zoning to allow for high-rises. The high-rises have all been pretty much, not all, but almost all devoted to student housing. And the thinking is that as that progresses, if it progresses, that it will empty out some of those student neighborhoods along Ann Street, Catherine Street, Jefferson, in the downtown area around our oldest buildings that could either revert to single family,
Right.
or they might be occupied by retirees or empty nesters wanting to live downtown. We'll see how that goes. Now, well, the university has 45,000 students. They provide housing for 12,000.
Right.
So the other 33,000 are housed in the private market. And the 12 or so high-rises that have been built so far account for about 4,000 of those students. So,
Oh, really?
so we've only chipped away at a 10 to 15% basis. And I don't know, no one knows.
Right, because I think that was part of the long-term strategy, is
Yeah.
that we would start to more purposely build student housing, and then those properties, just as you're describing, they turn
Yeah.
back to ownership models versus rentals.
Right.
And that would improve the property value of those
Right.
homes, which might bring us more children in areas that we kind of see as old landlocked
Yeah.
space.
And we've seen
Good
it
point.
already in the Old West Side there.
Yes.
There's been growth and there's been
Yep.
demand at Baugh, for
Right,
example.
and
But-
in areas, trustees, where we have no capacity
Right.
for additional students.
Yeah, Angel and Baugh have no site. at
Exactly,
all,
and
yeah.
also, Burns Park we just added to, so,
Right,
so you see.
But that's the one I mentioned that is 10 years down the road. It's
Yep.
something to think about.
It's
and
interesting, though,
track.
that 4,000 figure, because we see those big buildings go up and we think, gosh, they
Yeah.
must be fitting everybody in there,
Right.
and
Yeah, there-
4,000 out of 33.
It's startling to think there are 33,000 students
Yeah.
being privately housed, and they're just jammed into these old houses.
Oh, I
all over
remember.
town.
Yeah. Yeah. Dick, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.